Decidueye versus Pikarom.
Yeah, this is one of the matchups that normally is in favor for Decidueye. Obviously, the Mewtwo and Mew Pikarom deck is only playing one Pokemon that is not a GX or a V, and that's not a Pokemon usually attack with, the Tapu Koko Prism Star. We'll have to see if Mike utilizes that to try and take this game. It's definitely going to be an uphill battle, but again, Mike, a very experienced player in the game, definitely has been in tough situations like this in his Pokemon career, so we'll see if he's able to pull that out. And I think we're ready to go ahead and jump into the game here. So let's go ahead and throw it down to both of these players and get started. This is going to be an exciting set here, as Kevin is going to win the coin flip and is actually going to opt to go second in this matchup. And I like this play. Is going to force Mike to go first. Obviously, Mike, playing the Pikarom deck, wants to get off a turn one Electrify from that Boltund V. So it's going to put Mike in a, I guess, uncomfortable situation to start things out. As Mike acknowledging right away that this is definitely one of Pikachu and Zekrom's tough matchups in this format.
Like you mentioned, that Tapu Koko Prism Star really is the only option as far as attackers into Decidueye once that gets up and running with the Deep Forest Camo ability, of course, meaning that it cannot be damaged by Pokemon V and Pokemon GX, which is basically, I mean, if we look at Mike's deck list here, we got the 3 Boltund, we got 2 Pikachu and Zekrom, the Raichu and Alolan Raichu tag team, the Mewtwo and Mew GX tag team. All of these Pokemon are not going to be able to do anything to a Decidueye. A key card in Mike's list, though, is actually going to be that one copy of Big Charm. If you can get that Big Charm down onto the Tapu Koko Prism Star, you can give it a little bit of survivability on the bench. That way it doesn't take that extra damage by, you know, getting pinged by the 20 damage from Decidueye's attack, by pinged by Zigzagoons, anything like that. So I think that's going to be a key card if Mike can make that happen.
Yeah, so not much from Mike in this first turn. Just going to go ahead and bench that Pikachu and Zekrom, catch a Speed Lightning Energy, and throw action back to Kevin. Is going to start things out with a Quick Ball. Going to be able to search out. Most likely it's going to be a Rowlet. Looks like all 4 in the deck. Want to get that up and running. We see the Rosa in hand, so Kevin has a lot of options here, whether to play a little bit more passively or to start trying to get these Decidueye set up without the help of Rosa to try to dig through the deck with something like the Professor's Research that he plays, as well as just trying to thin the hand out to utilize Gourmandize to draw as many cards as possible. We do see the Research in that opening hand. Would have to burn a few resources. I think just checking through the deck to see what's in there. Looks like 1 rare candy in the prizes. I believe a Bird Keeper in there as well, just off of what I'm seeing from these lists. And it looks like there is also, I think 2 Rosa in the prize cards as well. That could definitely hurt Kevin a little bit here, especially if Mike is able to apply some pressure with this full blitz on top of something like a Marnie to sort of negate the Gourmandize on the side of Snorlax, as we see that Rowlet go ahead and get benched. And I think Kevin just deciding here whether it's better to maybe go in with something like a Bird Keeper here. This Pikachu and Zekrom usually would be threatening a knockout, but again, that would require the Tapu Koko Prism Star to go to the Lost Zone. And as you said before, that Tapu Koko is going to be crucial in this matchup as an attacker instead of a support Pokemon.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee we're not going to see Dance of the Ancients from Mike in this matchup. Maybe at some point to late in the game, once Tapu Koko's taken a lot of damage, it could be useful if you've already dealt with a couple of Decidueyes and there's a few more prizes around, but almost definitely not. We do see Kevin go with that Bird Keeper thanks to that Sky Circus ability. Rowlet could attack for free this turn, but I feel like Kevin's not really worried about getting the damage in play right now. You definitely want to get damage in play once that Tapu Koko hits the field, but at this point, I think Kevin is going to just go ahead and use this Scoop Up Net, send up Snorlax, and wants to just draw more cards with the Gourmandize.
Yeah, deciding to hold that second Scoop Up Net in hand, could have drawn an extra card, and this is looking excellent. Has the combination of cards to get a Decidueye out next turn, but we know Mike playing 4 copies of Marnie in this list. That is going to be a key card to slow Kevin down when it comes to setting up the board. You really cannot let this Decidueye deck have free reign with draw. You need to put on some pressure and disrupt the hand, as Mike is going to start things off. We'll see what line of play. We very may likely see something like this Boltund electrifying the board. The crucial turn is when that Tapu Koko hits the board, because as you said, Splitting Arrow does deal 20 damage to 2 bench Pokemon. So if you leave it on there for too long, eventually it will take enough damage to get 1 hit KO'd by the 90 damage that Feather Arrow deals to the active. As we see, Quick Ball is going to go ahead and discard that Electromagnetic Radar. Going to be able to find any basic out of the deck, so we could actually see this grab something like the Dene, or could just go ahead and grab the Tapu Koko right off the bat and try to pair this with something like a Marnie to bring that hand size down. And Mike may opt to actually not take knockouts until that Tapu Koko is set up, as you activate Rosa for Kevin, and we know that's such a crucial card in this Decidueye deck.
Yeah, I think the ideal situation for Mike is going to be. I've played this matchup quite a bit as a Pikarom player, and I feel like it's really beneficial to try to get some of these early knockouts. Sure, you can turn on their Rosas, they can get the Decidueye up and running, but if you can, like you said, combine a knockout with a Marnie, it makes it much more difficult for that to happen. And you also really, really, really do not want to bench the Tapu Koko Prism Star until you're going to be full blitzing energies onto it. That's the ideal turn where you can go ahead and full blitz, take a knockout, and then throw the 3 energies onto the Tapu Koko Prism Star so that it is ready to go from there.
Yeah, we do see that first Marnie getting played from Mike is going to essentially negate this Gormandize from that Snorlax. Going to allow Mike to draw 5 cards. Kevin is going to go ahead and get 4 cards. So that rare candy combination is out of the hand. Not looking too strong here for Kevin with this new 4-card hand, and we will see that Boltund get an Electrify off. He's going to go ahead and throw 2 Lightning Energy onto that Pikarom, going to be ready to full blitz the following turn. And there is a Bird Keeper top deck for Kevin, so opens up a few more options in this instance. Even that Pokemon Communication could go down, or we could see that just get held in the hand, as is actually going to utilize Bird Keeper just to switch into Jirachi. And those were a great 3 cards to draw into. Pokemon and a rare candy is going to mean Kevin has the cards necessary in hand to get out a turn 2 Decidueye.
Yeah, definitely ideal. Not going to get to Gormandize this turn, unfortunately, but finds the Professor's Research for the next turn, so we can see, that come out and draw some more cards. But definitely a pretty solid 3 cards, if you ask me. Rare Candy, Decidueye, the Ordinary Rod. Not the best to draw this early on, for sure, but I think you'll take those 2 cards.
Yeah, I think that is definitely maybe the best 3 cards you could have actually drawn into, as well as finding the research off the Stellar Wish to have some draw power the following turn. We do see Crushing Hammer, which is definitely, I would say, the second most important card in this matchup. You want to slow the Decidueyes down from attacking. If you can get Tapu Koko up and running, and the Decidueye has no energy, little energy on it, that's when you can start applying pressure without really having an answer on Kevin's side, as that first Crushing Hammer will flip heads to remove that fighting energy off of this. If you're Kevin, if you need a hammer to hit sometime during this game, or if you have to pick one time, you can at least recycle that energy back with Ordinary Rod, as it looks in Kevin's hand. So actually going to be on Mike, and I think we may start to see the full blitz. We could also see this Pikarom accelerate some energy onto itself. Kevin is playing 1 copy of Mew in the deck, but that would just be one more thing to force Kevin to find in this instance, as just like I said, we are going to see 3 energy accelerated onto that Pikachu and Zekrom will threaten a big tag bolt effect for this following turn, as Kevin, not the best top deck there. I'm sure we're just going to go ahead and see this Rod get played, followed up by a Professor's Research.
Definitely, and the Tag Bolt is extremely strong in this matchup, and really, honestly, in this spot as well. Kevin doesn't have any energy in play. You're not going to be putting any damage on this Pikarom, so you're not, as Mike, really too worried about, letting this take too much damage too quickly. And then also, of course, Kevin only had a 2-card hand. You know that they had a research in hand, but that gives you a pretty good idea that there's not going to be a Rosa there. So Kevin, what Kevin can do here is bring up this Snorlax, as we're seeing, and then that way you limit the prizes your opponent can take. But actually, Kevin, gonna go ahead and bench the second Rowlet. This opens up a 2-prize turn potentially for Mike, if Mike can find a Boss's Orders.
Yeah, interesting choice to not go ahead and utilize Gormandize for next turn. It's going to just opt to get an extra Rowlet out in play. This means if Mike has a Boss's Orders in hand, can just take 4 prize cards, as another Crushing Hammerheads goes down. Kevin was deciding attaching that grass. I'm sure he's a lot happier that that fighting is going to hit the discard pile instead of that basic grass energy, as not too relevant of a card. Martial Arts Dojo in this matchup can actually be really good at actually picking up a 1-shot onto this Tapu Koko Prism, and Mike playing 2 copies of Chaotic Swell. So if Mike can consistently find those cards as those Martial Arts Dojos are coming in, I believe only playing 2, so this guarantees that Kevin will not be able to utilize that Martial Arts Dojo, for the entirety of this game.
And this, I think, would be a really solid turn for Mike to potentially find the Tapu Koko, go ahead and full blitz to it. You don't get to do any damage, but looks like Mike either didn't find it or doesn't want to utilize it quite yet. The Crushing Hammerheads are definitely huge here whenever you can prevent the Decidueye from attacking. You know for sure that you're your Tapu Koko Prism Star is going to be safe on the bench. It's not going to take any damage from the Decidueye Splitting Arrow. As Kevin here is going to play this Capture Energy, could try to draw some cards with something like the Jirachi, has Fione to try to cycle through Mike's Pokemon. Not super useful right now, but that's definitely something that can be solid later on.
Yeah, we're seeing Kevin almost get punished, essentially, for not leaving that Snorlax out. If you leave the Snorlax, you obviously can't let, as Mike, let this deck take time to set up their board, so you have to eventually put on pressure, and we see Kevin with essentially almost an unplayable hand, cannot obviously play that Rosa without having a Pokemon get knocked out before, and this is exactly what you want if you're Mike. The boss's orders to bring up Rowlet will be able to take a 2-prize turn. I'm almost certain we'll go ahead and take 2 knockouts on both of these Rowlets in play, leaving Kevin with just 1 Rowlet left, and actually gonna see him take a different route, is going to knock out the Jirachi, so that will leave an extra Rowlet in play. Kevin having a nice response to this, though, in that Rosa, as we explained, will be able to find any Pokemon out of the deck, that rare candy, as well as a basic energy to allow this Decidueye to start attacking as soon as this turn.
Yeah, and I really like the decision from Mike to go ahead and take out the Jirachi. You just saw your opponent use Capture Energy to put it into play and then not play a supporter. So you know your opponent doesn't have the strongest hand, maybe hoping that once you take a knockout, they'll be able to utilize the Jirachi. So Mike going ahead and identifying that. Of course, Kevin did top deck the Professor's Research, so going to have an option after this Rosa comes down. But I think, you know, as Kevin as well, you kind of don't really mind losing the Jirachi because that's another Decidueye you can potentially set up.
Yeah, exactly. Now Mike would have to pair something with another boss's orders, or then he is in threat to have 3 Decidueyes come out into play. And 3 against 1 does not seem like great odds for Mike, as we do see Quick Ball is going to just that Basculin that grabbed off the Research. Not very useful in these matchups. Is in there specifically for those Fire-type decks where Basculin can utilize the Martial Arts Dojo to hit for some damage. As we do see the first Splitting Arrow of the game will deal 90 damage to this Pikachu and Zekrom, as well as 20 damage to both those bench Pokemon. So slowly but surely applying some damage to eventually take some knockouts. Action is now on Mike to maybe start to get this Tapu Koko Star builded up. I have to say, though, this is kind of where we see the power of the Decidueye deck in this matchup, right? It feels like Mike, even after having such a strong turn, already down to 3 prizes, is sort of on the back foot, as we are going to see a big Dedenne going to go ahead and Dedenne change away that hand, getting rid of, I wouldn't say the most relevant cards. That Team Yellguard can be useful sometimes with paired with the Crushing Hammers. We do see that hammer come into play. Mike is 2 for 2. Make that 3 for 3 is going to go ahead and remove the Grass Energy. Crushing Hammer, Lady Luck on Mike's side so far in this game 1.
Definitely. You hate to see that as Kevin 3 for 3 on the hammers from your opponent. Definitely unfortunate. But luckily for Kevin, only 1 Grass Energy has been hit off of that. That's where things can definitely become problems, especially since you've already utilized an Ordinary Rod here. It can make it difficult to find those Grass Energies later on in the game because, of course, Splitting Arrow does require 1 Grass and then 1 Colorless Energy, which, of course, can be any other type. So we see the Quick Ball. Is now the time, Ethan? Are we going to see the Tapu Koko Prism Star? Looks like it.
I think we are. This is perfect in combination with the Crushing Hammer. You've got to put some aggression on, and is going to actually grab the boss's orders with Eldegoss. So we're going to go ahead and see this target down the Rowlet, and this is going to be great. It's going to allow this Fulbutz to not only take a prize, but also accelerate 3 Lightning Energy onto this Tapu Koko. And this is sort of on Kevin now. You usually want to find a boss's orders this turn. Only plays 1 in the deck, but again, we do see the Ordinary Rod top deck, but it doesn't feel great to know that your Decidueye is going to get hit. And I think in most cases, you'd be like, I have an out to Martial Arts Dojo. I can one-shot this Tapu Koko. I have more prize cards than my opponent. But Chaotic Swell, putting in so much work here, will not allow that to be the case. And the problem, especially with these Crushing Hammers hitting, Kevin may not have the resources available to take a knockout on this Decidueye and build up a second, or take a knockout on this Tapu Koko Prism Star and build up a second Decidueye. Luckily, though, finds the Aromatic Grass Energy, will be able to put some pressure onto this Tapu Koko on the bench. But I'm sure we're going to see that attacking as soon as this turn from Mike. Does have that guaranteed, can retreat that Pikachu and Zekrom. We'll see what is able to play. But this is sort of where Mike has to utilize Tapu Koko Prism Star as much as possible.
Absolutely, and for Mike as well, I think the Big Charm, maybe not as relevant as it would have been since that Galarian Zigzagoon's already in the discard pile along with a bunch of scoop-up nets, but normally Big Charm on the Tapu Koko Prism Star feels pretty good, especially since you cannot take a one-hit KO on a Decidueye.
Okay, so we see Mach Bolt just coming up short, 20 damage short, which will allow Kevin to get an attack off. This hand is looking pretty solid, does have the ability to research. I think if you're Kevin, you have to try to find another grass energy or an energy just in general to find for this turn. This is going to be a big turn for Kevin. Does he find an energy? And there are tons of energy in that hand. 5. I think that's a majority of the energy left in the deck. So this is a turn where, I mean, it's a lot to ask for, right? I think the odds of hitting 4 Crushing Hammer are scarcely low to be able to do that. But this is a turn for Mike where if you could find that last Crushing Hammer, take a knockout onto this active Decidueye, you let yourself have an additional turn to take a knockout, but there is not the energy. So I think with the cards in Kevin's hand, this is going to just be a guaranteed win here. I think Kevin has the cards necessary to take this game 1.
Yeah, definitely. If Mike could have found that final Crushing Hammer and found a heads, that would have been a game win, honestly, for Mike. Mike would have gotten rid of that last energy on that Decidueye. It would not have been able to attack the next turn. Mike can guarantee that he'll get 2 turns of attacking into the Decidueye before it can attack. Therefore, Mike would be able to close out the game. But fortunately enough for Kevin, Mike was unable to find that 4th and final hammer. And as we saw, Mike identified, yep, can't win at this point. He's attacking. He's knocking out my Tapu Koko Star. Let's go ahead and scoop it up, move on to game 2. And I wonder if there's any adjustments Mikey's going to be making heading into this second game.
Yeah, I think as we see, this matchup is just so tough. The Pikachu and Zekrom deck only has 1 card to deal with these Decidueyes. I think it has to put on a lot more pressure early on. You really have to hope these Marnies can stick. We didn't see that in this first game. It seems like your best bet is to pair the Marnie with something like the Full Blitz onto the Tapu Koko. Really try to put your opponent on the back foot, but Kevin just plays so many cards in order to get out of situations like this. So this will be interesting to see. Again, we've seen Mike in past years pull out of hard matchups, hard situations like this. He would be the person, if anyone, so to say, to find a way to overcome such a tough matchup like this. So let's go ahead and get into the second game of this series here. We are going to have, again, Mike is going to be on the top left of your screen, Kevin on the bottom. Mike is going to be able to choose whether or not to go first or second, and as we see with this Pikachu and Zekrom deck, time and time again, he's going to elect to go second.
Yeah, and this is actually a big difference as well from game 1. Kevin forced Mike to go first, meaning that he was effectively behind a turn. What can happen in this situation now is since Mike is going second, you can get off that turn 1 Electrify and then turn 2, start attacking with Bolton, start attacking with Pikachu and Zekrom. You can start getting some of these knockouts and even accelerating energies to your Decidueye and get yourself a lot better of a setup. And over to Kevin, going to go ahead and play Capture Energy, taking a look at the prizes and trying to figure out what Pokemon he wants to bring down.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be that Rowlet as he's already eyeing that up. Looks like an Ordinary Rod in the prizes. We see how effective that is against Crushing Hammer to put those energies back into the deck. So Kevin may not be so happy about that. As a lot of players do, checking your prizes is a big part of the Pokemon trading card game. Can see what pieces are in there. Looks like prize 2 Quick Ball, so may have a little bit of trouble setting up the board, which obviously is very important in this matchup. And from the looks of it here, it looks like 2 Rosa additionally. Actually, no, plays 3 different arts of the Rosa there. I was like, oh, prize 2 Rosa again, but playing almost every single art of Rosa here. As we'll go ahead and
trade one of those reverses, try to get the full art so you can have the full 4 different artworks on PTCGO.
Yeah, you need to show that Rosa comes in many different card arts here. The non-holo, holo, reverse holo, and full art. One of those cool cards we see just getting printed so many different ways so that players can have access to these cards online and, of course, at home as well. As we do actually see this Quick Ball grab a Snorlax, as we will see this Jirachi grab, has multiple options. Rare Candy and the Scoop Up Net has the Pokemon Communications in combination with a Pokemon to throw back. So I like this play from Kevin. Is going to play a little bit passively and going to grab this Rare Candy to have that combination of cards, assuming Mike doesn't play something like a Marnie on this first turn.
Yeah, and I like this decision. I think, Kevin brought down that Snorlax, so that way, if off the Stellar Wish, all you find is something like a Scoop Up Net, you can go ahead and Gormandize for the turn, try to get that hand size up a little bit. But obviously, I think with that combo of communication Pokemon and then finding the Rare Candy off Stellar Wish, that's ideally what you want to grab here, as we are going to see Mike play the Crushing Hammer right away. I almost wonder, I mean, it's going to work out here, obviously, as we see 4 for 4 on the set so far for Mikey. I almost wonder if it's sometimes better to hang on to Crushing Hammers to where you're getting rid of a grass energy, because what you can do is potentially put your opponent in a situation where they have energy cards, but they can't find that one grass energy that is required for the Decidueye to attack.
Yeah, you really want to utilize those at the best time. Crushing Hammer being such a powerful card when it does flip heads. And gonna like to go ahead and remove that capture energy, followed up by Quick Ball. Go and actually discard a Pikachu and Zekrom from the hand. We'll see what this goes ahead and grabs. Mike maybe is going to take the same line. Chip, do you think there's any different lines of play Mike can take this matchup, or do you think it's pretty cut to the bone on what Mike can really do and doesn't have too many options?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike played it really, really well in game number one. Like we've talked about, it's a tough matchup. It's going to be hard for Mikey to find a way to close out the game, but we've talked about kind of the outs here, the Marnies, putting your opponent to kind of an unfortunate hand, trying to prevent them from finding the Decidueyes, and then, of course, powering up that Tapu Koko Prism Star at the optimal time, which I think Mike found a good turn to do it in the last game. So I think if Mike... I mean, it's a tough matchup, you know, a pretty low win percentage on Mike's side. But if he's able to, you know, just play the game out the same way and things go a little slower maybe for Kevin on Kevin's side, then Mikey can definitely win this game, even just playing the exact same strategy.
Yeah, as we do see, Kevin is going to get Marnied, so that perfect hand, essentially, is going to go to the bottom of the deck and making a really interesting choice to attach this grass, or this capture energy instead of the grass energy to this Rowlet. I was thinking maybe we'd see something in research, but we are actually going to see the Bird Keeper come down and put that Snorlax into the active, but drawing into 3 unplayable cards.
Yikes.
Essentially can at least get the Fion down and switch the Mewtwo Mew, but that seems like you're almost helping your opponent out in this case. That Mewtwo Mew may want to start to full blitzing as soon as this turn. So you do get 1 extra card, but you essentially give Mike 1 less out to find during this next turn.
Yeah, I think you still kind of have to do it as Kevin. I mean, you have, you know, there's a lot of really good 1 cards you could find here, you know, pieces, like specifically the Rosa, right? Even a switching card because you can send up the Jirachi next turn because you expecting the Snorlax to get KO'd, obviously. But does a little bit help Mike out here because now we can definitely see this Mewtwo go for the full blitz, and just kind of like in game 1, I expect that this first full blitz is just going to accelerate those 3 extra energies to the Mewtwo so that you can try to go for the Tag Bolt to get 2 prizes there.
Yeah, it looks like Electromagnetic Radar is going to discard some of those cards not super useful in this matchup. Another Pikachu and Zekrom, as well as a Bolton V. And we are actually going to see the Big Charm come down as the active. That's not really what you want to see, but it's going to be ahead. It's going to have to Dene change away this hand. So the Big Charm not able to come down at the top of Coco this second game, but will be able to follow things up with a Marnie. So again,
pretty good.
Applying pressure and going to put that hand size of Kevin's down to 4 cards.
Yep, we already know that Pikachu and Zekrom is in the discard pile, so full blitz is coming and probably going to be happening to the active. Kevin gets a pretty decent hand here. You've got a rare candy and a Pokemon, so if this Jirachi's Stellar Wish can find either a Rosa or a Pokemon Communication... Oh, well, speaking of Rosa, why don't we just top deck it?
Yeah, it's always nice to top deck exactly what you need here. The Jirachi is going to go ahead and Stellar Wish as well. Finds a Pokemon Communications. We could be seeing a double Decidueye as soon as this turn. Has the rare candy, has the Rosa, or has the Pokemon already in hand. So this Rosa could essentially grab a combination of cards like another Decidueye, like another rare candy, and yeah, double Decidueye as early as, I think this is turn 3. Yeah. This is definitely a powerful position for Kevin. He's going to be able to develop his board, and almost a better start even than last game, and last game went in his favor. So I have to be wondering, Chip, what can you do if you're Mike? You're already staring down 2 Decidueyes. Is there anything you need to do to really deal with this, or does this just feel too overwhelming this early?
Well, you can Tag Bolt next turn. You're guaranteed to take 3 prizes here. We know that, or sorry, excuse me, 2 prizes here. We know that Kevin is not getting that Mew down. Doesn't look like it's hitting the field here. So we can knock out the Jirachi plus the Rowlet on the bench. And then it's going to come down, I think, to your Crushing Hammers. If you can find a turn where you can, you know, be taking a knockout with the Tapu Koko Prism Star onto a Decidueye, and then also clear the other Decidueye of all their energies in play, that's a situation where you really want to find yourself in. And then also, of course, pairing it with something like a Marnie could be really good. So it's an unfavorable spot in an unfavorable matchup for Mike. But, you know, I'm not going to count Mike out just yet. We'll see if he can play out of this and see if he can find a path to win.
Yeah, looking over on Mike's side is going to go ahead and throw the air balloon down. And something we don't see a lot in this game, Speed Lightning Energy onto the Dene GX. doesn't have the best attacks in the game, but will still get that bonus of 2 cards drawn off the top of the deck for Mike. I have to assume, maybe not this turn, but wants to try to get that Tapu Koko out and take the same line of play. We're actually going to go ahead and see Professor's Research discard this hand. Is going to get rid of a few pieces like that Eldegoss, Reset Stamp, Lightning. Not a great discard as here come the hammers. Mike has not missed a single one yet in this set. And that is going to be, oh my goodness. These are such low odds here. Mike, again, having such incredible luck with these Crushing Hammers. 6 for 6 as he notes out. Out of any match, you need these hammers to go this way. This is the match here, but Kevin's hand is looking excellent. Has the Grass Energy that just got discarded essentially to replace it. Has a Research to draw 7 fresh new cards. And you can tell Kevin is excited to be in this position.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin's being a good sport here. It's obviously very unfortunate that your opponent has flipped so many heads at this point in the matchup. But I think, as we say in the Pokemon trading card game, we take those. And something Mike might not be saying here is we leave the Tapu Koko in the prizes, and looks like that's going to be game. If you can't find the Tapu Koko Prism Star off the prize cards here, which it does not look like Mike was able to do, the 2 Decidueye in play are going to be enough to close out the game for Kevin. And Kevin is going to be our first player from the North American region to secure a spot in the global finals.
Yeah, Kevin playing excellently all throughout this tournament. Really brought an excellent meta call into this board with that Decidueye deck. Again, as we talked about, not the most popular variant, but hitting the matchups needed to go ahead and advance to the global finals. We'll be playing that later on in the month. Definitely exciting. I look forward to seeing him in the global finals. Again, such a cool deck, and very well played by Kevin throughout this tournament. We have another winners round match. So we saw one win and in so far.